Psychic Matters with Ann Théato, the top-ranked spirituality podcast.
There's so much beautiful technology, and it can be very scary for a lot of people, and it is going to change how we work and how we live. This is the year of AI where it's coming into the public domain. We've always had AI since computers started, right? Like even you think about, you log into Netflix and it suggests films, that's actually an AI algorithm looking out based on what you've watched in the past, making suggestions. I think we're going to see a lot of change. And within the card deck industry, there is a bit of a division between people who hate AI and people who love AI or are using it for their deck images. This technology is opening up the creative process for people who aren't artists. So I think it's a real opportunity for people who want to create card decks, but we want to do a good job with the artwork as well.
Today, we welcome Ayesha Hilton, a truly remarkable individual who is joining us all the way from Australia. Ayesha is a best-selling author of several books, a spiritualpreneur, and a course creator. She has a deep passion for helping individuals express their unique brilliance, and she has become a guiding force for those daring to dream and take inspired action. Her life journey so far has been a tapestry of diverse experiences, from being a farmer's wife to a globe-trotting advocate for various causes. Ayesha is a lover of card decks, and currently her focus lies in empowering and supporting her clients to create their own inspiring card decks. And Ayesha herself is an avid learner, constantly weaving personal development and spirituality into her life and her work. And she's here today to share with us the transformative power of creativity. Ayesha Hilton, welcome to Psychic Matters.
Thank you, Anne. That was such a lovely introduction. I need a copy of that to use elsewhere, because that isn't one that I provided. You've sort of put that together and it's really lovely.
Oh, bless. It's so fantastic to have you on the podcast. And thanks for making time to talk to us all. Your work inspires me so much. And I know that your journey as a spiritualpreneur and creator and best-selling author is it's just so inspiring. So Ayesha, maybe you could take us back to the beginning and share with us how your mission to inspire others first took shape.
I think it probably started in childhood, like most of our things that we, have this golden thread through our lives. So I grew up in a very interesting way in Melbourne, Australia, and my mum was one of the first Buddhists in Australia. And so she was the housekeeper to the first Tibetan lamas that came out to Melbourne. So I used to live with the Geshe-las, and we went to live in India when I was a child, and she studied with the Dalai Lama while we were at school. And I guess that sort of, I saw then, working, like living with refugees, just the suffering that they experienced. And then obviously living in India where there's a lot of poverty. I knew that when I grew up, I wanted to be an aid worker. So
Wow.
I went to university, and then I was an aid worker. I worked with Thai sex workers in Thailand initially, and then with Burmese refugees. So I guess I was always doing things that mattered to me and aspiring, I guess, rather idealistically to change the world. And when I was an international aid worker, I realized that I wasn't actually having the change impact that I wanted, because it's quite hard to change the world. And I did come home a bit dispirited, to be honest. And it was sort of a wake-up call. And I realized, firstly, you can't help people that don't want to help themselves. We all know that. And we've all been futile in our attempts, So now what I love to do is work with people who really want to create something beautiful. I'm very passionate about having more beauty in the world and more joy, especially now when we live in a time where if you turn on the news, it's not very pleasant, right? So
Yeah.
I try and avoid the news. I don't consume mainstream media unless I want to look up something. And people always tell you what's going on, or you see it on Facebook. So it's not like you're totally disconnected, but I choose to live in my bubble as much as possible, because I get too depressed if I see all that suffering. And the more, beautiful things we put out into the world with our energy and our work, the better the world will be.
I'm so with you on not consuming mainstream media, just enough to know what's going on. I'm totally with you there. So I've worked with you myself. You've mentored me in creativity, and it was just so fabulous. You helped me create a card deck, which I'm really proud of. And it's only a tiny little card deck. And it was just a little tryout card deck in a way, but I'm so proud of it and I absolutely love it. And I know that you work one-on-one with people and you create all these courses. Tell us a little bit more about what that is and how that works.
So initially, it was before COVID, I created my own deck, and I've always been interested in publishing and self-publishing. I used to be a book coach and stuff like that, but I'm very creative and, like many of you, like to create things. And it just sort of happened from there that people wanted to learn from me. So I call it the golden thread. It's like you responding to what people want from you that you actually enjoy, right? So it's not things that I dislike. Like, I've tried so many things in my business, and if I don't like them, I just let them go. I don't mean like accounting, like you have to do your bookkeeping, but the things that bring you joy, I think also can bring you good money and help you support people. And yeah, I first created the Card Deck Creators Toolkit, and I was selling that through Facebook ads. So I was able to reach people around the world. I mainly advertise to obviously Australia and then the UK and the US and Canada. So I have a really beautiful community around the world that I get to support, and they take my courses. And then I'm really into AI, but ethical AI. I'm a techno buff. I've had 20 years in technology alongside this creative career. And I have been using that technology and teaching people how to use that technology, and also having a stock image membership for spiritual artwork that people are using on their decks and in their social media and their journals. So that's been lots of fun as well. And it's cheap. I like things that people can access without having to. I was interested in something the other day, and they're like, "Oh, we provide finance." And I'm like, "I don't want to get finance for a water filter." So that sort of concept, "Oh, don't worry about the money." But, I want things that are accessible to people as well. So I
Yeah.
sort of have different things at different price points.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. Let's take that a little bit at a time, a little chunk at a time, because your courses are so beautifully laid out. They're downloadable, are they not, for people to learn at home in their own time?
So they're not downloadable.
Oh,
They're in
excuse
a
me.
course system. But yes, I have a background in online learning, and I have a degree in weirdly, what's it called? Professional writing. Couldn't even remember for a second. So it is all about structuring information in a way that people can just follow steps. Like, one of my first jobs out of uni was writing online help systems for software. So you can bring that skill into creating courses, not boring online help systems, much more interesting what we get to play with now.
So your card deck creators toolkit, talk us through that, would you?
Okay, that's my little passion project that I made, and has now helped over 1,000 people. So it walks people through the creative process as well as the printing and publishing process. And the thing that people most struggled with was how to size their deck. So I have all these beautiful templates in Canva for the various sizes. Most people do a 3.5 by 5 inch deck, but I have like a square one and, poker sized and whatever people want, basically.
But I've taken that course myself, and it's so simply laid out. The steps are really simple, and you give so much support to your students as well, and really encourage them all the way. You're like this beautiful, nurturing, "Oh, come on, it's easy. Let me help you get there. Let me help you get there." Because sometimes you take a course, don't you? And you think, "Oh, I just can't be doing with it. It's too complicated." And yours isn't like that at all. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, so the Card Deck Creators Toolkit, highly recommend it myself to everybody. And then you spoke, Aisha, about ethical AI. Say a little more about that. I mean, people have heard of AI, but just in case they haven't, maybe just
Well,
explain
I'm very
exactly what that
passionate
is.
about it. I love technology, and, our life has changed so much because of it. When I was first at university, I had to handwrite my assignments and get it to uni and pop it in a box by 4 p.m., right? on a Friday afternoon. But now there's so much beautiful technology, and it can be very scary for a lot of people. And it is going to change how we work and how we live. And that's why I think we do need an ethical approach. So I do a lot of work in Midjourney, and I don't reference living artists because out of respect for their incomes. But then at the same time, I've got an art space over in my office, and I take courses from artists and learn their style. So it's an interesting conundrum, and the industry is not regulated. You can't get copyright, even though like when you generate an image, you can actually spend hours fine tuning that prompt. And it does actually involve, human contribution, right? You can't just create, like you can put any prompt in, but whether it's beautiful and useful or not is, not always going to be the case. And we've just had a lot going on in the past in November with ChatGPT and them firing their CEO and then hiring him back. And it's, this is the year of AI where it's coming into the public domain. We've always had AI for, I don't know, since computers started, right? Like even you think about, you log into Netflix and it suggests films, that's actually an AI algorithm looking out based on what you've watched in the past, making suggestions. So it's just taking it to the next level. And a lot of people that I've worked with their card decks, just writing their bio for their deck or for their website can be really challenging. Like you wrote a really nice bio for me at the start of this podcast, but if I try to write that myself and I'm not confident, or it's hard to see your own gifts, using ChatGPT can actually really help people. And then you've of course got to put your own flavor on it as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of change. And within the card deck industry, there is a bit of a division between people who hate AI and people who love AI or are using it for their deck images. And I've been able to create, I'm about to release this beautiful animal deck, and it looks like art. And every time I look at it, I get uplifted and excited. And it is AI generated. And I would not be able to create that art, even though I love art and I paint at home. I can't create that artwork because I'm not that level of skill in art. So I think there's almost like a democratization, if that's the right word, of people who have a vision in their head but haven't been able to create that in reality. This technology is opening up the creative process for people who aren't artists. And I don't think artists will go away. We've had them for the entirety of the human race. There's always been artisans. I just think it's going to take a different form. And a lot of artists are actually embracing the technology and working with it with their particular vision. So I think it's a real opportunity for people who want to create card decks. But, I've seen some pretty shoddy ones as well. So, we want to do a good job with the artwork as well. Like you can scan Facebook, on your feed, and you'll see nearly every second ad has got an image that's generated by AI. And one of the things I'm quite interested in and do a lot of is generating stuff that doesn't look like it's AI.
Beautiful. So if you're someone listening to this podcast and they want to create a card deck, but they just don't know where to start, how does your course, or how do they find the inspiration to start that process? Where are they going to get their ideas from to put a pack of cards together?
I think a lot of people already have an idea. Most people who come to me, they've either got too many ideas or they've got one idea. I very rarely encounter someone with no idea. But if you have no idea, one thing you can do is look at the things that you love in a deck and emulate that. Like if you're into affirmations, or you want to do one on developing your intuition, or tying it in, like if you're a coach and a medium or something, what's something that you already do that you could translate into a deck? A lot of people are putting their course content, or I've got one client, Trish McKinley. I'm just holding up her deck for those who are listening. She's got the Goddess Unleashed deck. She has a whole, I don't know what you call it, intellectual property around 4 or 5 goddess types. And this then ties in with that. And she has a quiz and you can see what sort of goddess you are. I'm the goddess of order, which makes sense. I'm very organized, but that works well for me. So I think the harder thing is whittling them down. Like you've done one deck, you'll learn a deck of how to learn the process. But I'm sure you've got more, Anne, that you want to create as well. So I always suggest like people come with these really complex deck ideas and then a few simpler ones. And I'm like, start with the simple one so that you can learn the process. And then you've developed that muscle of creating and formatting and working out your printing and stuff like that. And you can apply that then to your other deck ideas. So I've got some decks in my office and one lady's up to deck 10, another lady's up to deck 12. So you don't have to limit yourself to one deck.
And of course, we had Nick Kellett on from Deckable, who you introduced me to as well. And Deckable has opened up the world of cards as well. So maybe you could say a little bit about that, because we don't have to just have a printed deck these days, do we?
I think Deckable is going to change a lot for card deck creators and users. So if you didn't hear the call with Nick or the podcast with Nick, Deckable's a digital app where you can have hundreds of decks on your phone, ready when you need them. And it's not like a 2D deck, like a physical deck where you've got a side A and a side B. You can have tons of sides. You can have audio and video. You can even journal as well. So you do your daily reading and then you can take notes and reflect and stuff like that. So I think I've been a big supporter of Deckable, and it's been a slow burn for the last year, but we're finally getting some traction now. And it's like anything new. When Audible started and even eBay and Amazon, the early adopters, we knew that it was going to be good, but we had to wait for the critical mass of people to see the value as well. So I have 9 decks on Deckable, and I only have a couple of decks printed because during 2020, we saw a steep increase in the price of printing. So I'll hold up this tiny deck. For those listening, it fits in the palm of my hand. This is my first deck and the original box. It's very cute. It's called Permission Slips, based on Brené Brown's work. And this deck is tiny, and I used to be able to buy it from China for $9 shipped, including the box. Now it's over $20 for the same product, and that doesn't even include shipping. So the opportunity for Deckable is that we can provide a deck without having to post it and print it and all that stuff. I don't know about other people, but I really hate posting things. If someone buys one and then I drag my feet down to the post office. So I love anything that's sort of automated, and Deckable automates the whole process. And obviously Deckable take a cut, just like Audible or KDP, and deliver it. And the other thing is that we get to open up to a worldwide market. So there is a lot of people around the world that wouldn't buy decks, especially we live in a very US-centric marketplace. So if you're in India and you want to buy a deck and you buy it from the US, and then you've got the exchange rate and then you've got the shipping, it just doesn't really work that well. And another trend I'm seeing, I don't know if you have it in the UK, but the Temu app, it's a terrible app. It's from China, and it's basically ripped off most card decks that are available. And I've seen a business that's only an hour away from me. She's actually closed down printing of one of her decks because it's been ripped off, and they're selling it for $3 and she sells it for $30 because it's a beautiful deck, right? And it's presented lovely. And then you've got this rip-off version. I don't feel like it's the same with Deckable. You can turn off screenshots. They can't download the images. So for people worried about their intellectual property, it gives them a bit of security as well.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Gosh, I hadn't even thought about hooky copies of things. So go back then. You also speak of the work that you do with AI and creating AI imagery, but you also have created a library of these images for people to purchase, have you not? Could you speak a little bit about that? Because a lot of the listeners on this podcast might be very interested in using some images for their Instagram accounts, for their Facebook, for their website. Maybe say a little about that aspect of your work, Ayesha.
Well, it's been very exciting, actually. And I've totally over-delivered. So initially I started in April 2023, and I was promising 2 collections a month of 30 images. But I pretty much give like nearly 500 images a month, which is too much, I think. But I just can't. They're all so beautiful, I can't choose. So I've done like celestial types of ones, angels, all sorts of beautiful things that you don't get in a normal stock image membership. And it's not like you can't go on and create these yourself with Midjourney if you want to, or, even ChatGPT. If you have a paid account, you can use DALL-E as well. But I think it's nice just to have them all ready to go. And so people have been really loving that. And I put a lot of effort into them. People get them as print versions and digital versions. So if you are wanting to use them in a book or in your marketing and print them out, you get them at a high quality. And I also provide them in Canva files, because sometimes you can't handle multiple files everywhere. So you can just actually look up that collection in Canva and just copy and paste it into your project. And the images, they do stop the scroll. And sometimes I'll be looking on Facebook and I'll go, oh, that image is really nice, and I like that post. And then I realize it's one of my images.
Wow. Isn't that lovely? Yeah.
It's a nice surprise.
And
I've generated over 70,000 images. I am contributing to some trash in the ether, I guess. But sometimes I create so many, it's quite a rush. Like when you learn how to prompt and you get this adrenaline rush or dopamine hit when you create something beautiful, and you are co-creating with this sort of algorithm, right? And you don't know what you're going to get. And I've been last week I was working with ChatGPT and DALL-E to do a tarot deck, because tarot is the hardest thing to generate in Midjourney. It just does all sorts of weird things. So I still couldn't get it right in DALL-E, but I'm working on it. So that's going to be a bit of fun as well.
What is that, DALL-E? I've not heard of that. Can you spell that?
So,
what is that?
So it's DALL-E, and then it probably predates Midjourney a little bit. It's created by OpenAI, which was, if anyone listened to any news in November 2023, OpenAI is the creator of ChatGPT and DALL-E. And Microsoft is a massive investor, like we're talking billions. So I've tried to use it separately to ChatGPT and didn't have any luck. I thought the images were hideous, but I'm having more luck with ChatGPT. So if anyone's tried Midjourney and found it overwhelming because it's inside an app called Discord, which is basically a gamer's app, then DALL-E in ChatGPT is more like a conversation. It has a lot of limitations. I prefer Midjourney for bulk image creation because I can do a whole lot of things at once, whereas DALL-E, I'm limited to sort of one conversation, one image. It used to give you 4, now it's down to 1 because there's just so many people using it. But the images are really gorgeous. I've got some really cute ones and a few extra arms and legs and fingers. That's still happening.
Yeah, they do tend to create 12 fingers or something, don't they?
Yeah.
Strange hands, but I'm sure that will be ironed out over the months.
Every time I work on a collection, I've got to make sure I go through and count the right amount of limbs. And like I'm working on a unicorn deck at the moment. I've just got to make sure there's only 4 legs, not 5.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Do you ever use Bing for AI imagery? I was introduced to Bing
Yes.
AI, and that worked
Bing
well for me.
Bing is owned by Microsoft. It's their little product. Well, not little, big. They all want us to use Bing. Bing interfaces for images with DALL-E as well. But it's really weird. I was testing them out for this tarot deck that I'm working on, and it would give me 4 images, but not of the same quality that I was getting in ChatGPT, even though they were both using DALL-E. So it was very interesting. So if you want to try DALL-E, you can do it for free in the Bing browser, the Bing, just go to bing.com, I think, and you can actually have a play with it. And it's totally different from using it in ChatGPT, but it is free. But you get so many credits.
Oh, thanks for that. That's really interesting as well. And here's the thing, listeners. If you would like to have a look at Midjourney and you're a little confused, don't be too confused, because Ayesha has a course and I've done that course too. And it was really useful. So maybe say a little bit about that course, Ayesha.
I forgot you've done that course.
Yeah, I have. Well, I love your stuff.
I like to jump on things as they come. So I think I first taught Midjourney in November. So it's a year ago, November 2022. And then I thought, I'll just create it into a course, because I find a lot of the information is very masculine, very, computer nerd. And a little overwhelming for us normal folks. So I was able to just, same as for the card deck toolkit, just really lay it out in a simple way for people to understand and follow step by step. And I put so much effort into that. I've got so many different examples of prompt styles and art styles. And a lot of people now are creating their own images based on that course and having great success making card deck images, social media, whatever they want, really. And that's the advantage of learning it yourself. If you've got a vision in your head, you can make it come true. And I also work with people one-on-one. We have little sessions together where we prompt together and I help them generate the types of images, because I've generated 70,000 images at time of recording this. I have a lot of experience with prompts. Like, obviously there'll be people who know more than me, but I feel for our niche, the spirituality niche, I think I'm one of the better ones, to be honest, just from doing so many and trying so many things and failing and fine-tuning the prompts.
Yeah, which is why we should go and buy your course, because you've done all that hard work, so we don't have to. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really brilliant. And while you were talking there, I was remembering all the books that you've written. And there was one that I was looking at yesterday, and it was, forgive me, Aisha, I can't remember the name of it, but it is about the method of how to write a book. Can you speak a little about
Yes,
that?
it's called fast book writing. I just wrote that to help people because I've always wanted to write a book. And my first book that I wrote is really not representative of me at all. I was married to a farmer. He wanted to be a leader in the farming industry. And we were seeing a lot of people suffering when farm succession planning was handled badly. So that book's called Who Gets the Farm? And I love that book. I'm very proud of it. It's helped a lot of farming families. We even sell to people in the UK, even though it's an Aussie book, and obviously in America as well. And once again, I was able to simplify complex information for people. And that's what I did. I did that. And I wrote that book weirdly only in 2 days. There's two types of creators, or maybe three: people that never get started but have lots of ideas, people who need to do a little bit every day or regularly, and then the others I call the bingers. We're binge creators. I like to just get in and go hard, and then I just fall in a heap and have a rest for a few days. So I don't tell people to binge write their book in my book about book writing, but that just having a background in writing and communication and technical communication as well, and how to structure information. I wrote that book to help people. It's very simple. It's just an ebook. I don't think I've even got it as a print book anymore. And I have one more weird book. So I haven't written my soul book. I've been in lots of soulish books as a co-contributor. But my other book is on breast reduction surgery, because I find I just respond to what people ask me. So I had breast reduction surgery in 2015, and I went from like an I cup to a C cup. Have gone up a bit lately because I've gained weight during the COVID, I call them COVID kilos.
Yes.
But that book has also helped a lot of people. Like, I had a beautiful young Indian girl, couldn't talk to her family about it. She read my book and contacted me, and I always respond to people. So it almost like doesn't matter what you do, right? Like, everything you do helps people and builds your skills. So I've done lots of weird projects. Yeah, and at the moment, interestingly, I had a bingey week. So that's why I feel like I can talk about. I was working on the weekend as well. I binge created a flashcard tarot deck for Deckable using the 1909 Rider-Waite images and then explaining what they mean. So it's to help people learn how to read tarot, and it will be on Deckable. And it's like 200 cards. It's a lot of work, and I'm so proud of it. It's really, I put my heart and soul into it.
That's amazing. When will that be available?
As soon as I do the Deckable spreadsheet.
All right, yeah.
If I have time this week. So Deckable, I'm not sure when this interview goes live, but Deckable are having a relaunch. So I want to have it up by then. And then I want to have a full tarot deck as well. But as I found, tarot is a lot harder than just doing an affirmation or an oracle deck, because the images are so specific. And because I do like to use unique AI generated but artistic images, I've done most of a tarot deck, except it just doesn't like pentacles. So now and I did the pentacles last in the process, And now I'm like, do I have to change the whole deck because it can't get pentacles, or redesign just the suit of pentacles? So it's been interesting. And I think that will help me help others doing a tarot deck as well.
Gosh, yes, all that frustration. Oh no, what a shame. And you left that sweet till the end. Oh my goodness.
I
Um,
know. And that's the thing, you never know, like even when you're doing a normal deck, you may hit a roadblock and have to reassess the whole project at times.
yeah. I'm a sort of creator that if I want to get something done, I will binge it. That's the key for me. That's the way I see a project through to the end. But mostly, unfortunately, I get a project to 75, 80% done, and then I take my foot off the gas. And my computer is littered with such projects. I don't know where to start. And I'm thinking, oh, goodness me.
I've got to say, and you're not alone. I have like 6 decks ready for me to do something with. So I hear you. And all
Right.
they need is a 10%, right? And what I tell people is just pick one and finish that, then pick the next one. And I don't know how people structure their week, but I like to have some time, usually on a Monday, where I just work on my own projects when my tank is full. And there's plenty of stuff in your business that you have to do that's boring. So I save that for the afternoon, and I really put all my creative energy into I'm not an early morning person, but I'm an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. person. But I like to do my full creative work earlier in the day. And then in the afternoon, I just do the boring stuff, cut and paste, respond to this and that. So that would be my advice. Like whatever your peak creative energy time is, use that, give yourself that gift, and don't book people in, book yourself in.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really hot tip as well. And I've noticed myself, if I put myself first every day, I'm so enthusiastic about my day. I can't wait to get started on all the stuff I'm trying to do. And then all the things I have to do for other people, I do put off until later on. So, and if I do it the other way around and I think, oh, I'll just do all this stuff for everybody else first, I kind of run out of steam and things don't really get done. So I'm not the priority.
I feel depleted too in that scenario. Even with my business, I don't see clients till 10 o'clock unless they're in the UK. I see them at 6 p.m., but I don't do a lot of UK time because of the children, and I've got to feed them and put them to bed. I've already fed them before today's call because it's, early where you are, and it's 7:40 here in Australia.
Perfect. And you got 2 children, Aisha?
Yes, I've got a boy and a girl. So.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. A wonderful mother. They must be really lucky to have a mum like you, so creative. You must be nurturing that creativity within them as well.
Sadly, they're not especially creative.
Oh, fair enough.
My son is very spiritual. I feel like, some of those children, they're just born and he's an old soul. He looked like an old man when he was born, a cute old man, but still a bit looking for a baby.
Yeah.
Gorgeous thing. And like even today, so I started this, I watched, I don't know if anyone else has watched it on Netflix. They have a show called How to Live to 100, and it looks at all the blue zones around the world and what helps people live a long life. And there's a lady on there, she's 103, chopping wood with an axe, which I can't do. Even now my back would be killing. But the main thing, they've all got different food and it's all very clean, and they all, do lots of activity. But the main thing was social connection, right? So I decided to get a volunteer job, excuse me, and befriend an elderly citizen. So there's a whole program. I saw it on Facebook. So I applied as a volunteer, got my police check. So my son and I took our new friend out for afternoon tea this afternoon. And my son is just so kind. And I think that's the sort of people that we want to raise, like kind. He hugged this lady. I don't force my kids to ever hug anyone, but he hugged her, and she lives alone. She doesn't have any family nearby. It's probably the only affection she might get in a long time. There's a reason I'm telling you this. But I see with my son that we want these little spiritual warriors coming forward in the next generation. So he might not be creative, but he's kind and he's interested in the type of stuff that we are.
Yeah, that's just beautiful. And that is a mother's job well done. If you can bring a child like that into the world who is so empathic and kind, you can rest easy after that, I think.
I think I say to my son, I'm not the best mother in the world. I'm not the perfect mother, but I'm the perfect one for him.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Just the other thing I was going to say, which some people can relate to, I feel like my children chose me and that I chose them. And my son will go, "Oh, I'm so glad we chose each other." And as you know, Anne, my other child has been very sick mentally and physically. And for the first time in 12 years, we're actually in a really good place. And I think about all the things that I've done to try and get here. And we've had some sort of miracle that I don't really understand, but we have a very happy, calm home now. And I know that we might not have got here if we hadn't chosen each other to fulfill this path that has been very, very challenging. And I was going to show you and the listeners, they can't see it, but I've got this beautiful deck called Finding Grace in Challenging Times. And I binge created this after the worst time of my life. And my daughter's name is actually Grace. And so there's all sorts of ways to create a deck, right? And to put your lived experience in a format that can help other people. And I've had people that I didn't think were going through a rough time use this deck every day and it helped them. So I think that's one of the things I love about decks is it's the same as books. They live in a life of their own beyond you. I had a guy contact me via email from a different part of Australia, and he'd been in hospital in rehab and they'd been doing art therapy with my permission slip deck.
Wow.
And he emailed me and ordered 2. And I never would have encountered this man. He never would have found my website or ordered the deck, but just through some sheer miracle, I guess, he encountered the deck. So if you are thinking of creating a deck, you never know who it's going to help or where it's going to end up.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a little life of its own. So we should all pull out of us that which is within and needs to be expressed, I think, in some way. So just finally, Ayesha, do you have any upcoming projects or endeavors that you're particularly excited about that you want to share with us?
I think the main thing is just I'm still continuing to work with people one-on-one and in my course. And I have a beautiful Facebook group as well for anyone who's purchased anything of mine. I have $9 image packs. So if people don't want to join the membership, which is only $7 US a month, and you get like hundreds of images. But if they're not interested in that, you can buy image packs as well. You can have a session with me. I've got tons of things that people can do with me. And for me personally, I really want to get this tarot deck done. The learner one, flashcard type one, and then something really stunning. I'm really into boho style at the moment. So it's going to be a boho deck, very feminine. And, I like pretty things.
Yeah, beautiful.
And some tarot decks are a bit scary for me.
They can be, can't they? They can be a little bit threatening,
Imagery.
the images.
Yeah. So, and I know that's a whole niche in itself, but I want to make things that are really beautiful in a lighter way. Dark can be good too.
Yeah, and you also do this lovely monthly cup of tea with people where we just gather together on Zoom. And
it's a bit
doesn't
British,
cost
isn't
anything.
it, having a cuppa. Yeah, we have a creators cuppa. This is Aussies love tea as well. And I used to have a tea business, so I'm into tea. So I thought rather than calling it a Q&A call or something like that, it's just a cuppa. And it's very casual and very informative though. And I learn as much from the participants as, I share with them, because we've all got different experiences with different printers and stuff like that. So it's fun.
It is. It's fun. It's really interesting because you get to, you're really good as a facilitator as well. You allow everybody to express and you encourage everybody to take part equally. And we're able to say what we're creating, what we're working on. And you also give a little bit of advice on that. And other people can chip in and say, oh, try this company or try it this way, try it that way. So it's a really supportive community that you've built.
It is very lovely. I've got to say, I feel very blessed. And yeah, I do try and create an inclusive community where people feel safe to share their creative projects, because when you're putting something out there and sharing with other people, it can be a bit nerve-wracking for some people. But at the same time, we get it on the call. We understand what a momentous thing it is to have created a deck, and we get to celebrate that with people. And often their own family won't understand it in the way that we do as fellow creators.
Yeah, that's just beautiful. So, Ayesha, where can people find you? Give us your website.
So alas, I have a very hard to spell name. So you spell Ayesha, Ayesha, and then Hilton, and then you can go just to .com. I sort of run two websites in parallel. So I have my Ayesha Hilton website, and then I have my academy, just because that's on a learning platform. And, so if you can Google me, I come up like on the first 3 pages of Google. So, and I'm sure you'll put the links underneath anyway, Anne, because even my own family can't spell my name sometimes.
Bless you. Of course, all the links will be in the show notes for this episode. And do you have social media platforms as well, Ayesha?
I have them all except TikTok, which I'm going to try and embrace. But yeah, you can find me just on all the platforms. I really like Instagram at the moment because it's just more creative than Facebook in some ways, but you get better engagement on Facebook. So you got to do both.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Listen, thank you so much for coming on to Psychic Matters and just sharing all your knowledge and giving us so much inspiration that we can bring out our own creator within. Thank you, Ayesha.
Well, thank you. And I'd love it if we get a few people from your community to make decks, and then we can have a little promo of your listeners. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Come on, guys, get your decks made. We'll
Thank
meet
you so
again.
much, Anne.
Bless you, Ayesha. Thank you. And I'll see you soon.
You have been watching the Psychic Matters podcast with Ann Théato, the only podcast to push forward the boundaries of human consciousness to redefine the significance of living. Subscribe now so you don't miss future episodes.